So this is my favorite video to make every single time, and we're going to be going over what are the 5 best close range weapons that are currently inside Warzone 2 as well as DMZ. It's always kind of SMG heavy in these videos, and that's just because I personally love SMGs in this game or any COD game or just any game in general. I like playing aggressively. You always need to have one aggressive weapon in your loadout, in my opinion. The cool thing about this game, and this is the reason why I think you should always have like a super fast aggressive gun in your class, is that you can actually carry 3 weapons inside Warzone 2. If you don't really know that, the MP5, which I think, or the LACHMANN sub if you want to call it that, I think is the best aggressive gun in the game by far. Now in terms of TTK, it's one of the best. And in terms of movement and with this build, which just works really well, I don't really know why it works so well. It's just the one that I've been using, and I don't really want to change it, to be perfectly honest, because it's working really well for me, is this build right here. So we're using the stockless mod. Now, if you do struggle with the control of this gun, which you shouldn't because we have kind of balanced it out, then you can use the mobile stock instead, right? You're not going to get the best benefits from this one. You do want the stockless mod for the best movement speed bonus possible. Then we are using the 7mm laser. This is going to help with the aim down sight speed and sprint to fire. You can also use the ULO if you like hip firing a bit more. This also works really well as a hip fire build if you just switch this one attachment, so it is definitely worth changing if you do hip fire quite a lot. In this game, hip firing is very important actually, especially since movement's kind of nerfed quite a lot. Then we are using the covert suppressor, which I think is the best suppressor in the game, because it doesn't con your aim down sight time nearly as much as the rest. Now when it comes to attachment tuning, we are going for max aim down sight time on the left hand side slider here. The bullet velocity slider we never touch, and that is just because we do want the balance between idle stability and bullet velocity. Then when it comes to the Merc underbarrel grip, I do not know why this feels so good in game. It helps a lot with the vertical recoil for some reason, especially on SMGs. Maybe we need to run some testing on this one, but it does just feel really, really good in game. And then when it comes to obviously the bonuses you get a lot of hip fire accuracy as well. So that is why I tend to go with the 7mm laser, because you are getting some of the bonuses with the Merc 4 grip. But when it comes to the attachment tuning on the Merc grip here, we're going for hip walking speed, which is basically your walking speed when you're not aiming down sights. And then also aim down sight speed, just to make sure we're as snappy as possible. And then lastly, we are using the 50 round drum mags. So what we're doing is going in a private match and testing how quickly you could shred through opponents. Now these bots have 250 HP, and that is so we can actually get a fair test on what it looks like in game. Now obviously recoil control is not absolutely everything when it comes to SMGs, and that's why I didn't want to just go into the firing range and show you that, because it's not really a fair test for close range aggressive weapons, because like I said, the main thing for aggressive guns is the movement that you get, which as you can see, the MP5 definitely moves relatively decent, and then also the TTK numbers, and you can see how quickly it's shredding through players with 250 HP. Next up, we have another super aggressive choice, and that is the Finic. The Finic is an absolutely solid close range gun as well. Again, the build is going to be very similar to the MP5, and that's because it performs very similar, because they're both like super close range SMGs. Now when it comes to the stock, we are using the stock cap, which is basically like the no stock attachment. It gives you aim down sight time, sprint to fire, all that good stuff. Now once again, if you are struggling with the control, then actually take the assault stock instead. That will give you a bit more control in your weapon, but still give you some of the bonuses. But like I said, the no stock one for these 2 guns in particular are the best attachments. We are using the 7mm laser once again for the faster aim down sight speed. Again, it's just we want the max kind of aim down sights, just so you can be super aggressive. We are using the covert muzzle once again, and again, like I said, this doesn't really con your aim down sights. And then when it comes to the attachment tuning, we're doing the exact same thing once again. Now the bottom slider should be on 0 there. I don't know what's happening with this one. It's kind of hard to get it to sit in 0, so you can just remove that and reattach it again, but the aim down sight slider should be all the way down and maxed out. Then we are using the Merc 4 grip. Once again, I do think it is one of the best underbarrel grips for SMGs, especially with all the benefits it gives you here. And then attachment tuning, once again, is very similar to before. So hip walking speed and aim down sight speed. That is the main things we want to focus on those sliders there. 45 round mags is an absolute must on the Finic. Again, similar to Modern Warfare 2019. It just runs out of ammo very quickly, which is one of the bad things about this gun and why I can't really put it number 1. Again, same test again. We're going to be doing the exact same thing with the Finic. So 250 HP on these bots. When you're pretty much point blank range, the Finic's actually really, really solid. But when you get to that kind of slightly further range, that's where the MP5 does a little bit better, in my opinion. But literally, like I said, if you're point blank range, the Finic is definitely a solid choice. Now, about here is where you'll notice the damage drop off. Next up, we have the VEL-46. Now, in my previous video, we had that for sniper support. We've changed the build slightly and made it an aggressive SMG, and that's because it can do extremely well in both scenarios. Now, unfortunately, when it comes to the VEL, I don't really recommend the collapse stock, which is the one that gives you the like fastest insane movement speeds and stuff like that. And the reason for that is because this doesn't really have the fastest time to kill up close, so you want to make sure you're landing every shot. Unlike the MP5 and the Finic, if you miss a couple of shots, it doesn't really matter too much. Whereas with the VEL, it is important that you land all your shots. So instead, we are going for the rear grip, which is the soldier grip here. It's going to give you sprint to fire and aim down sight time with a slight con to recoil. But with the actual tuning of the attachments, we're going to go all towards movement speed here. So sprint to fire and aim down sights. Just make sure you max out those sliders there. Then we are using the 50 round mags. I do think is an absolute must, especially on Warzone. Then we are using the Merc foregrip once again. I do think the Merc foregrip again is a really solid choice, and it gives you all the benefits as before. Attachment tuning again, very similar to before. So hit walking movement speed and aim down sight speed, super solid when it comes to the tuning there. Again, same suppressor, no changes once again. So if you are looking for the best suppressor in the game, this is the one that you want to be unlocking. And then when it comes to attachment tuning, once again, do not touch the bullet velocity slider, but slide that aim down sight speed as fast as possible. And then when it comes to the laser, we are using the 7mm laser. Again, you can go for the ULO. Both are solid choices there. It's going to come down to personal preference for that one. So again, testing out the VEL-46 now. As you can see, it does have a relatively decent time to kill. At range, it performs better than the previous two weapons, of course, because it is more of a ranged weapon. And hipfire accuracy on this is one of the best in the game. As you can see here, it does really well with that 50 round mag on there. And overall, it's just a really easy weapon to use as well, which is always handy when it comes to close range engagements, because they can be a bit tense sometimes, and having a gun that you can control and you know is going to have that time to kill potential definitely helps. Now, the next one might actually surprise you, but this one is actually a really weird one. And basically, I was watching a stream by OP Mark, and he was actually using the akimbo pistols, and it's the X12 pistols, not the P89Es, because this has a faster fire rate than the P89Es. And not only that, it has larger mag capacities as well, therefore making it a much better akimbo choice. But it actually does shred through enemies very quickly, which we'll show you in just a moment. But when it comes to the actual build for this, you want to use the akimbo X12s. Of course, that's kind of the whole point. You do want to use the 1mm pistol laser, which gives you the hip fire accuracy, the control, the sprint to fire speed, but the lasers are visible, but that doesn't really matter too much. And then when it comes to the mags, the 24 round mags are more than enough to even take out two opponents at super close range. Don't worry about that at all. And then we do have the lightning fire triggers, which is going to give you the faster fire rate. It does con your sprint to fire, but it's nothing really too major on a pistol. And then lastly, we are using the steel fire suppressor. Now, the reason why we're using the steel fire suppressor is because it gives you extra damage range, it keeps you suppressed. It also gives you bullet velocity as well to make sure your shots are connecting. Now, the bullet velocity isn't super important because you are pretty much point blank, or you should be anyway with these pistols. So again, we're testing these pistols. At super close range, they shred super quickly. They're actually very good. Again, these bots are at 250 HP. Now, the reason why there's a slight delay when I'm firing these weapons, because I'm running auto TAQ sprint. If you're a non-auto TAQ sprint user and you're landing a couple of headshots, then you will get some super insane TTKs with this. So that is why I think is a definite solid choice. And you can even perform relatively well at that kind of medium range there. If your trigger finger is a lot quicker than mine as well, that will also help. Finally, we have the MINIBAK SMG. Now, there's not any shotguns going to make this list because I'm not a huge fan of shotguns in general. But if you are looking to use a shotgun, the only one you should use is the Expedite 12. I think it's the only good shotgun in the game. But we're not talking about shotguns here. We're talking about the MINIBAK SMG. Now, this is very similar to the VEL-46, where it performs really well in that kind of close and medium range. and is a super easy to control weapon, and especially when you're in those tense situations, you want to make sure you're hitting your shots. So when it comes to the attachments here, we're using the True TAC grip, once again for the sprint to fire and aim down sight speed. When it comes to attachment tuning, we're going all the way towards sprint to fire speed, and that's to make sure we get the most snappiness. And again, the same with the aim down sight speed, we're maxing that out as well to make sure we've got the absolute aggression. Now, the build for sniper support was slightly different, but this time we're going absolute max speed on everything. Then when it comes to the stock attachment, the Makarov stock is still the best, unfortunately. We have tried the stockless attachment, but for this gun, it just doesn't really make sense because the TTKs are not like insanely good. And similar to the Vel 46, you still need a bit of control in the gun to make sure you're landing your shot. So the Makarov stock is still the best option here. Attachment tuning wise though, make sure you max out aim down sight speed and also max out aim walking speed as well. So when you're aiming and trying to like strafe, you're still getting that super quick strafe speed, which is obviously going to help you when you're in the middle of a gunfight. Then we are using the OLE laser for the aim down sight speed. Again, you can choose the ULO if you want that basically hip fire accuracy or the equivalent of the ULO, which this is called the grime line. But again, that is personal preference on that one there. We are using again the covert suppressor, which is going to give you all the same benefits as before. And then when it comes to attachment tuning, again, do not touch the bullet velocity slider, but max out that aim down sight speed slider. Now we are missing an attachment slot here, and the reason why we haven't put on a barrel is because there's only one, and it calls your aim down sight time. And then the magazine attachment doesn't really give you a bigger mag, it just kind of helps idle sway and all that kind of stuff. But again, it cons your aim down sight time. So the only thing I would recommend if you really need it is an optic, slimline, Cronin Mini, whatever you like, kind of close range optic there. So testing out the MINIBAK, again, 250 HP. The main thing for this gun is that it performs really well in that kind of mid-range, so round about that distance there. You don't need to be like super point blank, but you can actually do decent at range, and hip fire accuracy is really good as well, just kind of pretty much off the bat. Also, what's really good with this gun, if you land a couple of headshots, you will get a relatively good TTK, which is obviously what you're looking for. So you can aim for the head very easily with this gun as well, which is kind of one of the benefits of using it. So there we have it. Those are the 5 best aggressive weapons that are currently inside Warzone at the moment. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe. Thank you very much for watching.